another double episode, and what a double episode it's going to be. Spurs away in the league, and then Real Madrid at home. Kind of a must-win game if we are to stay and fight in the Champions League for the remainder of this season. We could, if we lose and Roma beat Rostov, drop down into the Europa League. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. So, as you guys will remember from the previous two episodes, we drew 2-2 against Roma, where a win would have basically guaranteed us qualification from the Champions League group stages. Unfortunately now, life is a little bit difficult for us. Roma tied things up at 2-2, and even though apparently the fans are happy about it, I'm certainly not, it means because Rostov beat us, we basically have to at least get a point at home against Real Madrid. If we do, and Roma beat Rostov, then our goal difference should just about be good enough to see us through. But I say it's a must-win game because, well, it's not really a must-win game because we can get away with a draw, but it's a must-win game in terms of we don't want to gamble on how many goals Roma are going to put past Rostov. The next episode was, of course, at home. First East Lancashire derby of this season, and we smashed them 2-0. Pretty straightforward, to be fair. Nano and Banyang, who have both been two of our main goal scorers so far this season, unsurprisingly both getting on the score sheet. And then was the away game against Man United in the FL Cup quarter-final, which I kind of said I wouldn't live comp because it was only the FL Cup, but surprisingly we actually beat Man United again this season. So we beat them early on in the UEFA Super Cup because, of course, they won the Champions League last season, and we beat them again in the EFL Cup. So as long as we can keep beating them in the league, looking at the Premier League, obviously we're second now because United have played a game ahead of us where it looks like they beat either Spurs or Leicester. I'm not quite sure whether you start from the top or start from the bottom, but obviously what's probably going to end up deciding the title, Everton in third place, wow. What's probably going to end up deciding the title is basically how our matches go against Man United, unless we start slipping up elsewhere and Man United don't slip up where we slip up, which is still possible because, of course, we are approaching the January transfer window mark, and it means that our second half of the season poor form syndrome kicks in. So that to one side, those of you guys that watched the last episode will know that I kind of, well, asked the board to negotiate a transfer for me, and I didn't realise that if the board negotiate a transfer, I can't cancel it. The only reason I asked the board to negotiate a transfer, I thought I'd be able to cancel it. For some reason, they decided to pay 25.5 million quid for this lad. Now, fortunately for us, he's 19. So, if that tackling can get boosted up to about 16, mark it up to about 15 and improve his crossing a little bit, we've got a very, very good player on our hands who, to be fair, considering at the moment, and I know because I was looking for a new fullback in the summer, considering the world in terms of real players retiring and regens is a little bit light in terms of fullbacks, this guy could end up being a really important player for us. Even though I think 25.5 million quid is maybe a little overkill, it's happened now and there's no way I can cancel it. I did take a look at his contract though, so if we look at his contract, he's currently on 16 grand a week and the board offered him 45k a week. So even though we've paid a lot in terms of 25.5k, this player being only 19 and the fact that he's going to join us in January, I do feel like his wages are pretty damn good for his ability. So let's just basically say the board could have overspent on a much worse player, and we've just got to focus on the positives. The negatives though is that we were already slightly over our wage budget because of contracts and things, and they've gone and put us even more over our wage budget, which of course, because the game is broken, it will then reflect badly on me in terms of how the board see me and my job security, and eventually down the line there's no doubt that they are going to moan that I am spending too much on wages, which is very unlike me as a manager as well. But at the same time, I do feel like they aren't really backing me in terms of we didn't get backed in the summer. We only had about 12 million quid to spend despite winning the Europa League, despite Champions League qualification. So we've got to wait and see. Spurs, 5th in the Premier League. We've not played them so far this season. Always a bit of a dodgy team for us because they've got Harry Kane up front. They're very, very good side. And most of the time we end up beating them once a season, and then they end up beating us at their place. So let's jump straight in and see what we can do. I want to say I'm not really too fussed about this result. Of course I am fussed about the result, but with the Real Madrid game in 3 days' time, it's hard to kind of figure out where we want to put our priorities. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll see you guys at the new White Hart Lane. Okay guys, here we go, going live at the new White Hart Lane. So, 4-2-3-1 from Spurs, Pochettino Spurs, unsurprisingly. I think what's even more fascinating is the fact that their team is almost like their team in real life. Deulofeu on the right hand side and Lacazette, obviously slightly different players, but they still have that like key formation of players. Kane, Eriksen, Dyer, Ali, Alderweireld is still here, Wimmer's still here, Lloris in goal and Danny Rose. And I think it just goes to show how strong in real life the current Spurs squad is, and how well Pochettino's built it from a youth perspective as well. They've got players for years to come. They can only get better in my opinion. We've gone with Piaka on the left. Andre comes in up front. Just think it's about time that Andre Gray gets some game time. That's probably going to save Nano for the Real Madrid game unless we're losing, and I feel like Nano could potentially grab a goal because of his decent form. Niang has to stay in the side because he's been scoring goals for fun. Alenya could come off at half time if we have a lead with Rog to his right hand side. Douglas plays just in front of the back four. Romeu's out injured and Tiote obviously retired, so we don't have much of a choice in terms of choosing someone for that position. Volkvist comes back in at right back. Not really sure if this is the ideal game for him to come back in at right back, but I'm willing to give him another go. Kalas plays alongside Dumic at centre back. Danny Bath and Dumic, to be fair, haven't exactly been phenomenal so far this season. And Augustinson, of course, plays left back. These guys are man marking the wide men, and that's it really. Yeah, let's jump straight in. As always, the customary demand more team talk. And, yeah, I mean, really, I think ideally we do need to win to keep that pressure on... This ain't good. Oh, Jesus Christ. To keep the pressure on Man United. But a draw wouldn't be the end of the world, because you just know that Man United are going to slip up somewhere down the line. Oh, God, that was close. That looked like a two-footed challenge that just about missed. Karim Demirbay is also someone who needs a little bit more game time after coming back from injury. He's only on 85% though, hence why he's not going to be starting this game. But here we go, Niang, that's a really good tackle from Dyer, and now the direct ball forward to Harry Kane, but Dumic wins it, and that's why I decided to play him over Danny Bath. Gray picks the ball up, needs to shoot, it's going to be, oh no, Piaka to shoot, and it's off the bar. There's one man we needed to score. One man we need to score in general. Who needs to score in general? I've got no idea. It's early in the morning. I'm not putting my words together correctly. It's Piaka, and he's not found the back of the net so far this season, and it's baffling. It really is. He's getting into good opportunities. He's getting loads of assists, but in terms of finishing, it just does not seem to be there this season. But generally speaking, it looks like we're playing relatively well. It's always going to be tough against a team like Spurs. Let's be honest, they've got a better side than us. Let's be honest, we've been punching above our weight for seasons now, so the fact that we're in second place is good. But I really don't want to concede a late goal. You see, that's the kind of stuff that Piaka does well, even though he's not scoring goals. He tracked back there, won the ball back, and now we've retained possession, and we can give that ball to our deep line playmaker in Douglas, who can travel with it, find a pass. Look at how deep Andre's actually come. Don't want that, but yeah. So Alenya to Rog, and that's what we can do with them central midfielders. So good technically. Piaka finds Gray. I'd like it if our fullbacks were getting a little bit more forward, but cometh the hour, cometh the man, and that man was Marco Piaka, and he started that move for me. He really did start that move. He was the first guy, right, when the highlight first started, tracked back, marked his man, won the ball back and gave it to Douglas. Somehow that ball went straight through Lloris's abs. Fair enough. But you know what, I don't care. A goal's a goal, and are we going to get a second one here? A cheeky second goal. Rog finds Niang. Oh my God. We should be 3-0 up here. You know, Piaka hitting the bar, and Niang's got to finish that. He's on a 6.5 after that miss, and it's no surprise, really. Don't feel like he's really played that well either, so I think I am going to sub him off at half-time. We do need to keep him fresh for the Real Madrid game. It's just a case of who's going to come on, and I'm actually going to take a gamble with Matthias Kunz. Every time he's come on this season, he's not exactly let me down, he's not played poorly, and he is right-only footed, so being on that right-hand side does favour him, and he adds an extra bit of pace injection into that front three. Alenya could very well come off around the 60th minute for Kerem Demirbay, give him a little bit of game time, or maybe Nigel. We'll have to see. If we're like 2-3-0 up, I might just stick Nigel on. It'll help his development, even though he is like 20 now, so he does have a little bit of room for development, but he's not going to improve much more than this. But I think considering the fact that we paid 1.8 million quid for him, he's a very, very good squad player. It's just a shame that some of his 14s and 15s didn't eventually reach, 16. That's probably my fault, because I maybe didn't play him enough, or maybe he just reached his potential. But for 1.8 million, he definitely was a steal. But yeah, let's go straight back into the second half. Carl Solenya's on a 71%, so it's probably just about time that we stick someone like a Kerem Demirbay on. We're not 2-0 up. I don't want to stick Nigel on just yet. I trust Nigel, good player, but I feel like the experience of Kerem Demirbay in midfield is what we need at the moment. Marco Rog isn't exactly, fit, so we could very well need him for the Real Madrid game as well, so Nigel could come on in a bit. It's just a case, really. It's either going to be Nano who comes on for Piaka or Andre, or Nigel. I think it is actually going to be Nigel. We'll give Nigel a run around for the last 20 minutes of the game, might as well. And other than that, really, it's just important to manage the side. I think if we are going to change anything, hit the 75th minute, reduce our passing directness. There we go. We'll reduce our passing directness now. This is one of the downsides to playing on key highlights, but unfortunately, I have to play on key highlights because otherwise these videos will be like an hour long, especially these double episodes. But we've got to do what we've got to do. Hitting the 80th minute, we'll also change to IWBs. It will stop the fullbacks from going as forward, and of course at the same time, kind of help them come into midfield, help us hold on to the ball. Boom. We've not changed much tactically, to be fair, from last season and this season, so it does kind of feel a little bit repetitive at times. Tell the lads to tighten up. Oh, God. Oh, see, that's another thing I don't like about key highlights. I think you guys have probably noticed that by now. But, we came, we saw, we conquered, and it was great to see that it was none other than Piaka who found the goal. We look at the stats at the end of the day. Tottenham probably had a few more opportunities than we did, but we had the two clear-cut chances. In that first half, we could have been 3-0 up, or at least 2-0 up if Nyang didn't balls it up. What's really, really, really satisfying as well is that we've not conceded in yet another league game. So we look at us in the Premier League. The last time we conceded was against Man City, which was when Volkvist poorly crossed the ball and we lost possession. So clean sheet against Newcastle, clean sheet against West Ham, clean sheet against Burnley, clean sheet now against Spurs. And how much would I love a clean sheet against Real Madrid? We'll have to wait and see. What's the Real Madrid squad looking like? Is Ronaldo still injured? He isn't actually. Gareth Bale is back, so I think Real Madrid are going to be even tougher this time round than they were the last time we played them. I think they were 8th in the league the last time we played them, and they fought back up to 3rd place. But surprisingly, Atletico Madrid have formed quite a gap at the top of the table. So Allegri's got a lot of work to try and do in La Liga. But I'll see you guys at Ewood Park for the next game. Don't go anywhere. Right, okay, so just before we go to the Real Madrid match, 2 things to let you guys know about. One of our coaches, who we brought in about 2 or 3 years ago, is now the Genoa manager. So we need to bring in a replacement, someone who from a coaching perspective is good from an attacking perspective and a technical perspective, because that's where training really needed evening out. And we've actually brought back Roque Santa Cruz. Now, for those people that remember him, it's no surprise that Blackburn are one of his favoured clubs. He was actually the reserves manager at Vasco da Gama, but when he popped up in the staff list, I had to bring him back. This guy really, I wouldn't say he's a legend at Blackburn, but he's a massive fan favourite, especially around Christmas time for the chants and stuff. And I had to bring him back, and it's great to have him back. We had to pay quite a bit in compensation, but I don't really care. Negatively, you guys probably remember Pedro Morales from a few seasons, not from a few episodes ago, where I mentioned this guy looks quality for his age. He's 18 years old. Release cost was £7.5 million, which meant we kind of had to bring him in. The problem is that, we don't have the funds. And it's really frustrating because the board have gone and spent 22, or was it 25? Was it 25.5 million quid for a fullback, when in reality, this is a kid that I want. And I'm not really sure. We've got a current transfer budget of 2k, and as a Premier League club, I find it hard to believe that they can't back me with 8 million quid. Obviously, 7.5 million quid fee, and that extra bit of money will be his signing on fee. But it does seem like we are going to lose this player. There's a chance we might end up selling someone in January, and if he's not signed a new contract, which is highly unlikely, given that he's obviously spoken to us, his morale's low, and his current contract is until 2025, we might be able to pick him up in January. But when this has happened to me before in previous versions of FM, it normally means that a bigger club will catch on and nick him from us in January, which is going to be really disappointing. All I can do really is just keep asking to delay the transfer for a week until it doesn't let me anymore. We've got to see if we can try and sign him in January. I have asked the board for more money, but they're not giving us any of it, which is a shame. In terms of players I would realistically sell to make up that amount, I'm not really sure. But let's focus on Real Madrid for now. But just wanted you guys to basically know about this kind of mess that I'm left in. Okay, here we go, the big game we've all been waiting for. So, as far as we're concerned, Nano comes in instead of Andre Gray, and Kerem Demirbay is actually going to start this game in place of Rog. Rog, at the start of the season, was scoring a lot of goals from midfield, kind of dried up, and sometimes rotating players just kind of give him that kick up the bum you need. Other than that, it's honestly the exact same lineup we lined up with against Spurs. If it ain't broken, don't change it. As far as Real Madrid are concerned, they've got Origi playing up front just off Asensio, which is nice, considering how much of a threat a 32-year-old Benzema, I think he was to us in the second leg. Odegaard and Rodriguez both on the wings, kind of, I assume, as wide playmakers. So, not that much pace on the wings, really. It was just kind of surprising. Kovacic is also the slightly more adventurous of the Real Madrid four in midfield. Casemiro will be looking to, of course, protect the back four. Guilherme Arana plays more defensively on the left-hand side, whilst Dani Carvajal will, of course, be looking to provide width and pace on the right-hand side. But I think going into half-time, we're at home. Let's just focus on playing our own game. It's a lot different managing the team now to when we were a poorer side where, you know, we had to rely more on tactical tweaks and things like that. Football Manager is a lot easier when you have good players, which is kind of a shame because of how this series has transitioned so quickly. But we've got good players. We'll stick doing what we're good at and see where that takes us. And then if it's not looking good at half-time or it's still 0-0, that's when we'll analyse what Real Madrid will potentially do and what we can do to counteract that. Jesus Christ, come on, demand more, show us more. Demand more, show us more. Yep, that's phenomenal management from me. But okay, here we go. So Real Madrid looking to build out the back. Kovacic, is he going to get tackled? Probably not by Alenya. Oh, he does. Alenya picks the ball up and we start throwing men forward. Piaka, who finds Kerem. Oh, what a pass. Oh, what a goal. God, blimey, what a pass that was from Kerem Demirbay. I mean, I know he's a good player, but I weren't expecting that. I'm pretty sure he didn't even look at the run in Niang. But credit where it's due to Niang as well. He had to make that run. It's obviously it's definitely something we've been working on the training ground, just FYI. But yeah, it's still Real Madrid. We can't really get complacent. Oh, okay then. Go for a cheeky demand more. In terms of centre-backs, I've left Dario Dumic on. He's good, he's strong, good in the air. And to be fair, he had Harry Kane in his back pocket against Spurs, so he's going through some decent form at the moment. But I think that's going to be our main threat. Real Madrid playing that 4-4-1-1. They're going to be looking to, utilise them wingers going forward and really just whip balls into the box for Origi, who's quite a big striker on this game. You can see how many men they're trying to get forward into the final third. Good tackle once again from Alenya, who's dominated Kovacic in the middle of the park, to be fair, today. Augustinson picks the ball up on the left, and with one single pass, Alenya splits open that Real Madrid defence. Can he find another pass? It's Volkvist out on the right, who's obviously been given another go out on the right. We're playing this nice and slowly, waiting for the perfect opportunity. Oh, I thought it was going to be a goal. It was almost reminiscent of the first goal. Alenya just basically decided, anything you can do, Karim Demirbay, I can do better. And what a ball that was, just threaded through the middle. Oh, don't get complacent out there. Dumic looks stressed, so part of me wants to stick Danny Bath on, and I am going to. Or do I really want to stick Danny Bath on after what happened last time round? If it ain't broken, don't fix it. We're going to keep it how it is now. I'm just thinking about how good Origi was in the air, and Danny Bath would be really good at preventing that. But to be fair, given what happened last time, it might not be that good of a decision. Piaka's not playing well. Nano hasn't exactly been phenomenal, but they'll know that. I'm not going to take him off just yet. Really intrigues me the most at the moment is, have Real Madrid... Oh, God, they've done this again. Oh, we need to kind of think this through. And a part of me does want to drop to a back five. Because, look, they've got Gareth Bale, Origi and Benzema up front. Just too much for these to handle. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do, just to, start things off, is lower our tempo and just look to retain possession a little bit. Just test the waters, I think. Test the waters going into the first 5-10 minutes of this second half and see what happens. What I'm thinking is dropping to a back three. And I didn't do this in the first time we played them, but when I was editing the video and looking back at it, I just genuinely think when you play with a front three like that, you just end up with too many attackers versus defenders in this year's match engine, and they really struggle to deal with it. I mean, another obvious idea would be to utilise an anchor man or something like that, because Douglas will go forward a lot more and be a lot more adventurous, even though there's a DLP on defence. But the amount of pace with Bale now up front, how fast is he nowadays? 16 pace, 12, it's still pretty fast, right? Origi's pretty pacey as well, yeah, and I'm not sure how pacey Benzema is. Not that much, but that's probably why he's in the middle, utilising him really for his poaching in the box. But in terms of that three in midfield, it feels like it's quite a lightweight three in midfield bar Casemiro, so that's really an area we can look to win the ball back a fair bit. And if we went five at the back, our wing backs would be able to provide us with a lot of width, and maybe stick Romeu on as an extra ball winner, and that would help us play our game a little bit better, because at the moment it's about keeping the ball for us. Okay, so that's potentially the plan, but we'll see what happens. The good news is that Roma aren't beating Rostov yet, and the good news is, of course, that Real Madrid need to score more than one goal to ensure that we don't finish second place in the group, because obviously we need to lose this game to not finish second place in the group, as long as Roma don't beat Rostov, and at the moment they're drawing, which is good news for us. So, okay, Real Madrid didn't create much in the first half. Let's just see what happens. See, a lot of width is really coming from these Real Madrid wing-backs. Are they going to score before we've even had a chance to touch the ball in this second half? But this is where we can pounce. They end up throwing so many wing-backs forward that we've got to be effective on the counter-attack. Piaka. That could have been the winner. That could have been the winner. So, looks like we're picking up the ball relatively well in midfield, And the front three are causing Real Madrid all sorts of problems. We've had 4 clear-cut chances this game. 4. And Real Madrid have gone with bully 3 up front and will somehow BS a goal in. But it's fine at the moment. Oh, what was that? That was a really good corner, actually. Caused Navas quite a few problems. I feel like we need to be more defensive now. We're playing for the draw. And Danny Bath, for me, gives us more defensively than someone like Nigel would. So Danny Bath is going to come on. And we are just honestly going to go through at the back. It affects our familiarity, of course it does. But it does mean we can get a little bit more adventurous with these guys, which is fine. We don't need them to be IWBs. I mean, them being IWBs could actually be really, really helpful in terms of facing Real Madrid's 3 in the middle of the park. But because Piaka's going to come off, I'm actually going to make a change. So, yeah, Danny Bath will be on cover. And just leave those two the same because he's a little bit slower, of course. We could go for a sweeper as well if we wanted to be real hipster, but we don't need that at the moment. We're going to basically just kind of try and match Real Madrid and what they do in terms of the midfield. So Andre is going to come on. He's going to give us a lot of running, basically. And in terms of the middle of the park, Piaka will come off and we'll go with Marco Rog. In terms of trying to balance things out, we'll make Kerem Demirbay a bit of a DLP. Don't want all 3 of these players pushing forward at once. We'll tell them to be a little bit more disciplined, remove dribble less, and we'll tell them to look for the overlap. It'll help us really hold on to the ball. But have we got these on close down more? Yes, we do. And I think for now, we're going to stick with that. A part of me is kind of just like, oh my God, he's changing it again. He's bloody changing it again. But, yeah. Real Madrid have had some chances, so have we. To be fair, we should be bloody 4-0 up in this game, looking at the clear-cut chances. Can't believe Piaka missed that opportunity. That was disappointing. That's key highlights at its best. But, yeah, it is what it is. So we beat Real Madrid, and that was a poor ball. I'm kind of happy that, you know, we got revenge, because when they did beat us, Benzema dived in the box, and then I think their other goal was a complete BS goal. But what's important is we have qualified for the Champions League, so in a way I kind of wanted to drop down to the Europa League and defend our title, but you can't say no to Champions League money, can you? So good work out there, lads. You did what was needed of you tonight. So 2-1-0 wins this episode. Goal from Piaka and a goal from Niang. Just when we think Piaka's turning a corner, he plays poorly against Real Madrid. But we've got to keep the faith. We got some relatively okay games coming up, I think, like Villa, Southampton, Crystal Palace, Wolves, etc. in the league, where we should be able to accumulate points, rotate the squad a tiny little bit, and, of course, maybe against them slightly easier opponents, Piaka might grab some goals. I want to kind of find out who we're going to be up against in the Champions League, but unfortunately it means we have to play the Villa games, so that's not going to happen. Otherwise this episode will go on for 2 hours. But if you enjoyed the video, I know I've been a bit quieter than usual, less upbeat. It's because it's kind of 8 o'clock in the morning and I don't want to wake people up in the house. But yeah, 2 wins, a lot of green on here, which is very different to what it was like in our first season back in the Premier League, but we are slowly but surely getting there. I want to hear your guys' opinions about this guy. I think it might end up being an okay transfer, to be honest. He looks okay, especially when you compare him to, like... So let's just compare him to our best right-back, in my opinion, who's maybe Fabio in terms of performances. So you can see that Fabio, in areas, you know, dribbling, finishing, penalty taking and passing, is slightly better than him, technically. But then mentally, this guy's 19, he's better mentally, and he's even better physically now. Maybe he wasn't better physically when Fabio was like his age rather than 30 years old, but considering Fabio's actually started most of our games at right back, or comparing him with our new player, Volkvist, who we brought in to, of course, play right back, who's somehow become more of a centre back, there isn't actually that much between the two of them. So considering this guy's 19 and he does have room to grow, I think I'm just going to try and give him as much game time as possible and see where that takes us. In terms of the key attributes for what we need from a right back, crossing and tackling pretty much spot on between the two. Physically, they're pretty much spot on. Volkvist obviously better in some areas like jumping, strength and marking, because to be fair, he's more of a centre back. But we just got to keep the faith in this lad, you know. And whenever the media description is Wonder Kid, it makes you wonder what his PA could be, and it's up to you as the manager to try and unleash that. Disappointed that we're probably not going to be able to bring in this guy, but we've got to keep our fingers crossed. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm buzzing that we've just beat Real Madrid. I wish this guy would score more.